my name is Jared Cohen. I'm the policy advisor here at the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. I'm responsible for a lot of our tourism and hospitality files. I work on our agriculture and transportation, as well as our food services files. So I wear many hats, as I'm sure you can understand. Before we just get things, I just wanted to say a couple of words. So as we all know, we're all gathered here to discuss travel insurance issues during the COVID-19 pandemic. And as we all know, the restrictions put in place during the pandemic have had significant impacts on our ability to travel, but there exist many, many questions to answer as those restrictions are lifted. So hopefully to answer some of those questions, we are joined today by Jessica Simpson and Ivan Tolentino from Johnson Insurance. And I just want to extend a big thank you to Johnson for sponsoring the webinar. Before we begin the conversation, I also want to recognize Johnson as a partner in our Essential Businesses Services program. We have worked with them to provide members with one of the most comprehensive and cost-effective group home and auto insurance programs in the country. You were sent the bios for our guests ahead of time, but I'll just give you a quick overview of who they actually are. Jessica Simpson is a consultant for group benefits and has been with Johnson Insurance for over 17 years. And over the years, she has had the pleasure of working closely with many groups and associations on their extended health and travel plans. As well, Ivan has been with Johnson Insurance for 12 years, and he is the home insurance and auto insurance program contact for the Canadian Chamber. So I'm sorry to do this, but now I'll be putting you all on mute for the duration of Jessica's presentation. After that, if you have any questions, you may ask them through Slido or by using the raise hand function on our life-size software. So with that, Jessica, the floor is yours. I am going to share my screen so that you can see the presentation that Jessica is talking about. If you give me one moment to finagle the technology. One moment. Hang on a minute, sorry. Sorry. Where is it? Oh, I just had it open. No. Sorry, I'm not able to find what I need here. Oh, here it is. Sure. So I will full screen that. Is everyone able to see the So Jessica, the presentation is on now if you want to go ahead.
Great, thanks, Jared. So yes, as you mentioned, I am from Johnson Insurance. I know a lot of celebrities have been crashing these meetings, but I'm sorry to say that this is not one of them. The name Jessica Simpson was actually a married name, but rest assured, my friends and my husband do say I'm pretty cool. So just a little bit of background behind Johnson. Johnson Insurance is actually a Canadian company with rich Canadian heritage. We opened our doors in Newfoundland and Labrador over 140 years ago and have offices across the country. Johnson is proud to offer you best friend advice and access to great products such as our travel insurance and our home and auto insurance. Today, actually, I'm actually here to present our fantastic travel product called MEDOC Travel Insurance. Just before we start, I just wanted to preference a couple things. Currently, there is a hold on all sales for our MEDOC travel insurance as the travel restrictions have been put in place by the Canadian government. But once those travel restrictions are lifted, the sales of our travel products will resume. Unfortunately, with the COVID-19 being so unprecedented, we are just monitoring the situation very closely. We hope that the travel advisories are going to be lifted before fall, when most people are going to start traveling again. Through one of our affiliate associations, we actually were provided with results of a survey they sent out to all their members regarding travel. And in that survey, 45% of those members want to travel once that restriction is lifted. So as soon as possible, 45% want to travel. 20% are saying within the next 3 to 6 months once the travel advisories are lifted. 22% within 6 months to a year. 10% greater than a year, and 3% are still undecided. I know that many people are itching to travel already, so presenting information on the travel insurance that is available to you beforehand will help you be ready once the travel advisories are lifted. So the more information you have on hand of what is being offered to you will help you make that decision going forward once you are ready to travel. So shopping for a new bathing suit and flip-flops shouldn't be the only thing that's at the top of your vacation to-do list. You want to make sure that your passports are up to date. Are there any vaccinations you need for the specific destination you're traveling to? Have you actually even stopped to think, do you have travel insurance? It's important to take out travel insurance when you're away on vacation so that even if the unexpected happens, you can actually be prepared for whatever situation you're put into. Jared, could you move to the next slide, please? So the MEDOC Advantage. MEDOC is a leading edge product in a highly competitive market. It has unique features, and it makes an excellent product for travel insurance. We offer comprehensive coverage, and it's at competitive rates. We have over 140 group members and their spouses insured under this MEDOC travel plan to date. From the months of March 2020 to May 2020, those members submitted over $30 million in trip cancellation and interruption claims this year, just due to the COVID-19. So that just shows having insurance in place for the unexpected was really beneficial to all these members this year. One thing that Johnson has done for our members this year, we have extended their current policy coverage for another 2 months. So anybody that holds the MEDOC travel plan, their policy was set to expire on August 31st. We've now extended their coverage until October 31st. And those last 2 months of coverage will actually be premium free for them this year. And then everything will renew on November 1st. If you could go to the next slide. So what is MEDOC? MEDOC is a travel insurance plan that we offer to Canadians that will be traveling within Canada or outside of Canada. One of the best things about the MEDOC product is once you purchase coverage, you are covered for the entire policy year. So if you're like me, I usually wait for any kind of seat sale that an airline may have, and I may actually book a couple trips at once. Because MEDOC is an annual plan, I already know I have my medical insurance in place for my upcoming trip. And I also have trip cancellation if a situation arises down the road that actually prevents me from going on one of my already purchased trips. So we have an annual plan that you can purchase. We have 2 options under that annual plan. It's a 17-day or a 35-day multi-trip coverage that will cover you outside of Canada. Our insurance covers you for unlimited travel within Canada. And then for those that are lucky enough to travel longer than 35 days, we do have a supplemental insurance plan. So we can actually cover you for one single trip outside of Canada for up to 182 days and up to 212 days if you're in Newfoundland, Ontario, Manitoba, or BC. The next slide, please, Jared. So why do you need MEDOC? Well, obviously, out-of-country medical costs can cost a lot of money. Your emergency situations can happen anywhere at any time. You may have a little bit of insurance through your employer health plan, but it's not going to cover all your travel expenses. This insurance will cover your trip interruption and trip cancellation and delay benefits. A lot of insurances offered through your employer may not have any trip cancellation coverage. You'll pay for one annual fee, and it'll cover you and your family for medical emergencies, trip cancellation, and trip delay coverage. So next slide, Jared. So what is actually covered? Members are covered for eligible medical emergencies that arise while you're traveling outside of your home province or outside of Canada. So this is actually a $5 million emergency medical coverage. This is per person per trip. Anything that I do mention is per insured. It's not per family. So everybody that's insured under the policy will have this coverage. Next slide, Jared. So other things that are actually covered will be any medical expenses for your hospital. If you need to see a physician, if you need some surgery, medical treatment, your drugs, medications, if you need to be air evacuated back into Canada, emergency dental care up to $5,000, emergency dental pain relief up to $600. Transportation of a family member to your bedside. So we do have a lot of members that actually do travel on their own. So what this insurance will do is if you do end up in a hospital, it will bring a family member to your bedside to be with you until you are ready to come home. Return of a vehicle. Again, we do have a lot of members that are snowbirds that like to drive down to the States in their RVs. And so if something were to happen to you and you were air evacuated back home, this insurance will actually pay for someone to return the vehicle back to your province for you. Next slide. It's also going to cover any meals and accommodations up to $350 per day. Repatriation or burial at the place of death. So if you were to pass away, we will return your body or we can cremate you at the place where you did pass away. Pet return is also a great one for our snowbirds or anybody that's traveling for a length of time with their animals. Again, if something were to happen to you and you were returned home by air ambulance, it would get your pets back for you. Any incidental hospital expenses up to $250. Baggage and personal effects. Sometimes you're not lucky and your baggage just does not make it to your destination. Non-medical remote evacuation. Anybody that does purchase home insurance through Johnson, if you do get our MEDOC travel insurance, you do get a 5% discount on your home insurance plan. We do cover up to $500 for any lost passports or documents that you need to get replaced. And there is a $25,000 accidental death and dismemberment coverage while you're away on your trip. Next slide, Jared. So this insurance also, not only does it cover you for medical expenses, it does also cover you for any trip cancellation, trip interruption, or trip delay. So trip cancellation would be prior to you departing on your trip. So if something were to happen to you, a family member, somebody's passed away, prior to departing on your trip, the trip cancellation will cover up to $8,000 per person per trip. Trip interruption is while you are already on your trip. Again, if you needed to return home due to a family illness, death, it will return you back to your province. Along will pay any unused portion of your trip up to $8,000. And then trip delay. So if you were delayed on departing on your trip, let's say once cruises start again, you couldn't get to the port on time to catch that cruise, it will get you to the next port so you can get on that cruise ship. Next slide, Jared. So our travel assist provider for this MEDOC travel insurance is Global Excel Management. It is a 24-hour emergency helpline. We do have numbers and emails that you can reach them at any time of the day. We do suggest in the event of any emergency, you do call them as soon as possible, just to help out with the claims process. However, I do suggest for any insurance plan that you do have is when you're traveling is to leave a copy of your travel insurance documents with somebody at home. So if something were to happen to you, or if you're traveling with a spouse or both of you, family members at home still have that travel information on hand and they can take care of everything for you. Another great suggestion is while you're traveling is most people now travel with iPhones or some kind of smartphone, is to take a picture of that travel information and just have it as your home screen. So if somebody pushes that home screen button, that travel information is already on that front screen. So it's just handy for anybody. If you're in the hospital, a doctor or nurse can see it right there too. Next screen. So the travel assist provider will refer you to your nearest hospital. Another great thing with Global Excel is you can do pre-trip planning with them. So before you even depart on your trip, you can just give them a call and let them know you're traveling to this area and just want to know the nearest hospitals that already they deal with. That way, if you do have the choice, you can go straight to that hospital that you already know they have a relationship with. They will arrange for your eligible expenses to be paid directly to the provider. They can relay important messages to and from your family members or physicians, and they do provide language assistance and help obtain legal services if you need that. Okay, so we will now move 2 slides over, Jared, to just choosing the plan here. So unique features of our annual plan. So our MEDOC travel insurance does not stop at any age. I know with a lot of credit cards, you can cover up to age 60, 65, and then their insurance will stop covering you. MEDOC is available to you regardless of your age and your health status. We do have a stability clause for any pre-existing medical condition. So that stability clause is a 90-day pre-existing medical stability clause. What that means is any pre-existing condition that you do have needs to be stable. So no changes in your medication, you haven't been in to see your doctor and they've prescribed a change in your dosage or have diagnosed you with something new for 90 days prior to you departing on your trip. So if you, let's say, have a heart condition and you're supposed to leave for your trip in 90 days, but your doctor has changed your heart medication, you can still depart on that trip, but because you don't have a 90-day clearance, anything related to your heart would not be covered on that trip. You have an easy payment, so you have the option of either paying your premiums over 12 months or depending on when you join our plan over monthly payments, or you can pay it as a lump sum. Either way, there is no interest charged on your payment, so you're paying the same amount whether you're doing a monthly or lump sum payment. And then we automatically reissue your coverage. So every September 1st, the policy is set to reissue for another full policy year. There is a medical questionnaire that we do ask you to complete. If you are in excellent health, you would qualify for a discounted rate over somebody that may have a couple of conditions. So that medical questionnaire is sent out to you every September to complete, and then we would reissue your coverage based on your health for that year. Next slide, Jared. So choosing the right plan for you. MEDOC combines all your travel insurance needs in one convenient package. So the next slide, Jared, is, so as I mentioned earlier, we have what's called a base plan. So the base plan is the option between a multi-trip plan of 17 days or a multi-trip plan of 35 days. Those plans will cover you once you leave Canada. You can travel as much as you want within Canada. There is no set amount of time. So you can travel, come home, and take off again without having to report anything. We have convenient coverage for year-round. So for those that like to plan ahead, this insurance is really great, even for those spontaneous trips and weekend getaways. Once you have this insurance in place, you are set to go whenever you want. And there's no need to report any trip dates unless you're in a claim situation. They're just gonna wanna know when you actually left on your trip. But for 17 days or 35 days, you do not have to report your travel dates to us. For those of you that do want to travel for a longer period in one time, you can purchase a supplemental plan. So anything over 35 days, you can top that up to either 182 days or 212 days. Those dates do need to be reported into us. We need to know the day you're actually crossing outside of Canada and to the date you'll be back into your home province. Next page, Jared. So we have the annual plan, which you have to complete the medical questionnaire. We have 3 levels of coverage: optimum, preferred, and standard. The medical questionnaire is a bunch of yes or no. It's a simple page of yes or no questions. If you can answer no to all our questions, you would qualify for our optimum health. The preferred would be asking you in the last 24 months, have you had any of these conditions. If you can answer no to those, you should be able to qualify for preferred. And then standard is for those that do have some pre-existing conditions. Again, that medical questionnaire is on the application form, and you do get a new one every year to requalify for your rate. The next page, please. So you can choose an individual or family coverage. Members that do have a family, depending on the age of the member and the spouse, we would go through the plan to see which is more beneficial. But 2 individual plans will still cover any dependent children that you do have. And the great thing about this plan is your spouse and your children don't have to travel with you to be covered. Everybody that is under the plan will have coverage. Next slide. So application enrollment, we have a bunch of ways you can actually apply for our insurance. You can go directly online at johnson.ca/MEDOC. We can mail you an application, or you can actually apply directly online through one of our agents. It's a simple enrollment. We do require a void check for your application to do your pre-authorized deduction from your bank account. Once you're enrolled, you do receive a confirmation letter. You'll receive a policy of the insurance, a claims travel card with all the phone numbers that you need. And we also have a members only website that you can have access to all your information right on our website. And that next slide there is pretty much it. Thank you so much for calling in, and I believe we have some questions that have been submitted. Jared?
Yeah, that's right. So as I said before, if you have any questions, feel free to send them through the Slido website. I see there are already some coming in. I'm just going to be honest, I'm taking these in the order that I'm seeing them. So I'll start from the, I guess the first one. So one question is, with all the travel warnings issued right now, even interprovincially, are people still able to make the claims if they get sick or injured? Or will claims be denied on the basis that they traveled when they were advised not to?
So with the insurance, because COVID is a known risk right now, anything related to COVID will be excluded, but anything unrelated is still covered. Insurance is still covering you within Canada as it normally has been. So if you get injured or sick due to something un-COVID related, I can say for MEDOC members, we are covering you.
Okay. And I guess then, yeah, so what, if any, changes have you had to make to your offerings because of COVID?
So the only changes right now that we have made is we're currently not selling the MEDOC travel products because of the travel restrictions going on right now. Anybody that currently has our insurance are obviously still covered within Canada, but we aren't selling any new policies at this time.
Okay. Big one here. So for travels outside of Canada, such as essential travel, is it how do you get medical coverage for COVID in case it is contracted? Yeah.
That I don't think is even possible. I know for MEDOC, like most insurance companies aren't selling anything new. But if you know of an insurance company, I guess you would just reach out to them to see if they're offering. But because, again, COVID is a known risk, I don't see anybody covering that. But I don't know if they're doing anything special for essential like workers, but I know we aren't doing anything.
Okay, great. We have that one. Will there be any geographic limitations applied to coverage? Does COVID represent a known risk which could impact coverage? I guess we've already covered that, but sorry. Here's another one. Okay, so on the note of essential services, why do we have to provide the dates? So we need to travel internationally to provide essential services. Why do we have to provide the dates, which are always fluid, and get approval for flying? Why are there additional premiums?
That is going to be based on the travel insurance provider you're using. Through MEDOC, as I've previously mentioned, you do have the 17-day or 35-day multi-trip plan. So if you're traveling States, we don't ask for your travel dates, and we're not charging any additional premiums for that. But then I can't speak to any other travel provider out there.
Okay. To travel, we got it. Sorry, I'm just seeing here what else we have here. Let's see. Once the U.S. border reopens, will Canadians be covered for out-of-country health events?
Once the borders are open, I can see the coverage going back to usual, but again, anything related to COVID, because it's a known risk, that's not going to be covered again. But it's such a new world of travel. I think, like, I know we're still waiting to hear from the Canadian government, as I know they're probably going to still put restrictions onto different regions. But we're still trying to see what the travel world is really going to look like. And I know right now, RSA, who is our travel underwriter, they're reviewing everything, and we should know more by the fall of what travel is really going to look like. But at this time, it's a new world of travel, and we're just trying to figure things out. But all I can say is COVID as a known risk, nobody's going to be covered for that.
Okay. This one looks like you guys are getting called out specifically. Why is Johnson not offering refunds when airlines have not provided a refund but have issued a credit instead? I don't know if you can speak to that.
Well, with travel credits, we can't physically issue a refund because the credit is still on file. So technically, that's showing that you have money on the airline, and then Johnson paying you out. They're actually making money on that. Johnson can't provide any money back on something that actually hasn't been withheld from you, if that makes sense.
Okay. I hope so. I think so. So yeah, what kind of hit on the premiums then will there be? I guess that's sort of the follow-up to that.
Yeah, like as I mentioned earlier, any members that currently have our MEDOC plan will be getting the months of September and October premium free. But and then as of September, anybody that has MEDOC does have the option of just terminating the coverage. And then once the travel restrictions are lifted, they're more than welcome just to join back onto our travel plan.
Okay, so, okay. What would MEDOC have covered if I guess we just covered this, but what would MEDOC have covered if I'd booked a trip and it was canceled because of COVID? And what would have happened if I'd been on a trip and returned early because of government warnings?
So we would have covered you for the trip cancellation. So if you hadn't departed on your trip yet and had your travel booked prior to the COVID-19 restrictions being put in place, like the government telling everybody to come home, the cancellation would cover you up to $8,000. If you were already on your trip and had to come home early, it had trip interruptions, so any unused portion of your trip. So if you still had hotels, or you're on a travel package and you only were there for a couple of days and had to come back to Canada, any unused portion would be refunded up to $8,000. What was the last part of that question?
What would have happened if I'd been on a trip? I guess this is sort of in hypotheticals. What would have happened if I'd been on a trip and returned early because of government warnings?
Well, it depends on what you're looking for. So if you had, everybody had to come back home. So some people, we had members trapped on cruise ships. So the insurance extended until they were able to get off of that cruise ship. Other people, it took longer for them to either get a flight back home because all the flights were just getting all booked up. So the insurance again extended coverage until you were able to get home. It was on case by case situations, but I'm not sure what they mean by what would have happened if you had purchased, let's say, an extended trip. So you paid extra premium to cover yourself from February 5th until June 20th, and then you came home in March. Any unused supplemental portion would have been refunded back to you that you already prepaid.
Okay. Yeah, on the note of essential services, again, essential workers. So I need to travel to the US to provide essential services. How can I be insured? I guess, yeah.
That is something you'll want to reach out to the travel insurance, it's really tough because with essential service providers, the insurance, again, anything COVID related is not going to be covered. So you just want to reach out to your insurance company to find out if they are extending coverage beyond that. Because I know with the restrictions of not traveling to the States, but essential services are still needed. It's best just to reach out to your insurance company to find out if they're extending any kind of coverage once you leave Canada.
Okay. And when you start selling your MEDOC travel insurance again, will you be offering coverage for COVID, and will there be an additional cost?
There'll be no, from my understanding, there's not going to be any coverage for COVID. But again, I don't know if they're going to be adding something for any kind of pandemic to the policy. It's all still being reviewed by the underwriters. Again, once we know more from the Canadian government on how they're going to be treating travel, I still don't have the answers to that. It's still a new world of travel, and we're still waiting to hear how COVID is really going to impact. But from my understanding, COVID is a known risk, and it's not a covered thing anymore.
Okay, so to be clear, if I travel within Canada, we would not be covered for COVID now. Is that correct?
COVID is a known risk, so anything after the government had issued the travel advisories is no longer covered. So I don't know if we still have people out there that are still stranded. I know there's still some people on cruise ships, but I think all our members have gotten home. So any new claims that come through, COVID-19 is not a covered risk anymore.
Okay. This is a question about pre-existing conditions. If I was booked for a diagnostic test because of a family history, but for no other reason, would it be considered a pre-existing condition, such as like a colonoscopy or something like that?
If you have pending tests, you'd want to get the test results back before you departed on your trip. So if you were going to get a colonoscopy, you'd want to get those results, go in to see the doctor, get the test done, and get the results before you departed on your trip. If not, yes, that would be considered a pre-existing condition and not coverage, because you don't know. It's not known yet if it's an issue yet. So if you were waiting on a colonoscopy but decided to travel before you got the test done, and then you had a lot of issues with your colon, I would say that would not be covered at the time because you hadn't got your test done and the test results back before you departed on your trip.
Okay, great. I don't see any more Slido questions. Feel free to keep sending them on, but does anyone have from the floor have any questions? If you want to raise your hand or shout at me if you have any questions. Denise, I recognize you.
Denise, you have to unmute yourself.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Hi. Yes, my name is Denise Caselli, and I'm actually a travel advisor in British Columbia, licensed to sell travel insurance. And I wanted to ask our moderator, I might have missed this. I'm sorry, I came in late to the meeting. Have you discussed the cancel for any reason option, the CFAR, with the guests and how that works?
I'll turn that over to Jessica if she wants to touch on that.
Sorry, you cut out there. Cancel for any reason clause?
Yes, because I've been listening, to the speaker, and the questions have been about pre-existing conditions. But I'm just wondering if your company offers clients cancel for any reason.
No, we have about 16 clauses that are covered under our cancellation coverage. And it is listed in our policy that is available online, but there is no cancel for any reason clause under our plan.
Oh, there isn't. Okay. All right.
No.
Okay. So there's basically your cancellation is strictly for a medical or an unforeseen event.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great question. Thank you for that. Any others on the Slido? Let me just check. I don't see any more on the Slido. Are there any from the floor? I guess you must have answered all the questions that people had. Oh, I see one from Virginia. Go ahead, Virginia.
Thank you. Regarding the pre-existing conditions, if you go and have that colonoscopy and it comes back as you're clear, but you still have a family history, and then you go and travel and get sick, are you covered?
You would be, yeah, as long as you got the test results back before you departed on your trip and they came back clear, yeah, you would be fine.
Oh, looks like she just left anyhow.
Okay.
Any other questions from the floor or on the Slido? Okay, no. Just as, do you mind, Jess, if we send out this presentation to participants? Or I should have asked.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so this will be sent out to all participants after the call anyways. And any other further questions, I suppose, people can just get in touch with Johnson directly or through us or whatever you prefer.
Yeah, well, we have, you can contact Johnson directly through our email if you like. I can get that to everybody. The email is P as in Paul, B as in Bravo, service west, WEST, at johnson.ca. So pbservicewest@johnson.ca. Or you can call them directly at 1-877-989-2600.
Excellent. So I guess that about does it for the questions. Ivan, did you want to say any final words too, or is I haven't heard from you much on this call?
No, thanks, Jared, and I just want to say thanks, Jess, for the presentation, and thanks to everyone who joined the call. I know, you know, the premise of the call today was around travel insurance, and our MEDOC product. And as Jess mentioned, you know, if you guys have any questions, you know, please call us in. You know, just want to remind everyone on the call that we are the provider for the home and auto insurance for Canadian Chamber of Commerce members. So again, if you have any questions about your policies or are interested in getting a policy through us, please do not hesitate to contact us. But thank you, Jared.
All right. So I guess we'll leave it at that for now. And thank you, both of you, for taking the time. And thank you to all of you who were able to attend for taking the time out of your busy schedules. I know this is a very hectic time, but yeah, this is a really great conversation. I really appreciate all of you coming out. So I guess we'll end it there. And yeah, have a good day, everyone.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jared. Thanks.